Hello, and welcome to Taming the Chaos of Entrepreneurship. I am joined here today by Ryan Buck. So, a few weeks ago, he happened to slide into my DMs. I don't know how he contacted us. He contacted us and asked about, had been referred to us by someone I met at a networking event and asked me to talk about bookkeeping for his business. And when I found out actually, here's what happened. Jonathan, my husband, runs in and he says, the guy that owns Aromas on Oak wants to talk to us about accounting. And we were so excited because if you're local here, then you know about Aromas on Oak. It's been kind of a big deal in the social media world. And Aromas on Oak is the newest coffee shop in Roanoke, Texas, and we had already been to it several times and really loved it and fallen in love with the atmosphere, the coffee, the employees, and everything. And so when Ryan called us, we were most of our discovery calls are done via the internet. We do them Zoom or Google Chat or whatever. But we were more than happy when Ryan extended the invitation for us to meet at the coffee shop to go down and have a cup of coffee with them. So we love having clients that um, have a business that we actually care about too, that we like. And so it's such an honor to have you here, Ryan. And I'm excited to talk to you about this journey that you've been on. So you opened Aromas on Oak in April,
August 31st.
August
So
31st.
we're
Okay.
we haven't even gotten 6 months yet.
This is awesome. You know what? We need to do this interview today, and then we need to
Mm.
go ahead and schedule one for August so that we can talk about now we're in a year in and what it's like to what's different from 6 months in to a year in, because
Yep.
I think it's going to dramatically change for you.
Yep.
Um,
I'm
so
down.
take us through what in the world made you possessed you to decide to open a coffee shop in Roanoke, Texas.
So most of my life I knew I was going to be 9 to 5 at a desk, and for about 17, 18 years of that I was. So I worked at TD Ameritrade, and then Charles Schwab bought TD Ameritrade, and was working there for a while. And then the merger finished, and was just part of the layoffs. Um, and never in my wildest dreams or nightmares were thought about opening or starting my own business. I was very risk averse. Just wanted stability, and enjoyed the 9 to 5 and having weekends off, and so it never. I was never one of those that dreamed to be an entrepreneur and ever wanted to do anything like that. And coffee was always just whatever was around. So what kind of started it was, I was doing the job hunt. So January was laid off. Just got a few offers for like Dallas, and did not want to make that drive.
How
Having
far a drive
worked,
is it in case somebody's not
it's
from
oh,
here?
so it's depending on traffic. No traffic, it's about 45 minutes to an hour. With traffic, it's going to be two, maybe three, depending on the day.
Yeah.
Um, and so, really was not looking forward to that. And then I was lucky in my career that I had managers and leaders that trusted me, and allowed me to just do my own thing to some extent. And so I was always kind of my own boss, with still having bosses and some structure there. And one of the interviews, I was talking to somebody. They were talking about, oh well, we'll get you trained up. We'll show you how we do things. And I'm like, no, that doesn't sound good. I know my job. I've been doing it for 15 plus years. That doesn't sound good to me. Maybe I don't want a boss. Like, that was kind of the jumping point to where I'm like, ooh, I didn't like the sound of that, having to learn somebody else's, how they do things. And so then we were, my wife and I had always joked about opening a bakery or a coffee shop or something. I mean, actually, never coffee. It was always a bakery or a restaurant or something. Just in joking, like, oh, someday we'll open something. Um, and we were walking downtown Roanoke, and there was a one of the stores had gone out of business, and they had to sign up, for lease. And just randomly walking by, we're like, let's just call. I'm curious. I wonder how much it is. So I picked up the phone, left a message for the realtor. They called
At
back
that
short.
point, did you have in your
Mhm.
mind, like, what you would put in that space?
No,
Okay.
not at all. So we were just like wanting to know how much, because I'd never really looked into like commercial real estate to see how much it would cost to just open a space. Um, and so they came back, gave me a number, and I'm like, oh, wait, that's not that much. What? Hmm, maybe we could do something with that. And our kids had just come back from a cat cafe, which, if you don't know, is where you go. Well, in Europe, a lot of the cafes, they can have animals in the cafes. And so there's cats, they have shop cats and things like cafe cats and things like that. And you can't do that with health codes here. So, but what they do is they just have a space where you come and play with cats. And, they call it a cat cafe, but, it's usually just a Keurig in the corner or something, just, but it's mainly about spending time with the cats, and you can adopt them. And so our kids had just come back from that. We walked by, this place had beautiful, just large windows. If you ever get to Aromas, it's not the same space we were in, but it was close to it, but same, just huge open windows. And we're like, wouldn't that be really cool to have like a space with cats playing? And you're walking by, and you always, as a business, you want to be drawn in. You want to draw in. You want to have that hook that brings people in the doors. And we're like, wouldn't that be great? Like, even if you don't like cats, you're going to stop to be like, oh, what's that? There's something moving in there. And then realizing, oh, it's a cafe. There's coffee in there. So we realized, like, oh, that'd be really cool. So I'm a numbers guy, so I start running numbers, trying to figure out, okay, how could we make this work? Um, and because I had just been laid off, I had almost 15 years of severance. And so I was in a really unique position to be able to self fund something like this. And so it was one of those times where you're just like, okay, if I'm going to do it, this is my only opportunity, and why not just go crazy and have a midlife crisis? So um, we put the offer in, put a business plan together, put with the realtor, asked it like, hey, here's our ideas, here's what we want to do. And she came back, he loves the coffee idea, no cats. And we're like, oh man, that just, the whole idea was you catch people that way. Like, there's coffee shops all over. Well, little did we know that, we're like, okay, fine, let's just do coffee. Like, we just kind of resigned ourselves to, like, I guess we'll just do a coffee shop. And then I started looking, and I realizing there's not really any coffee around here. I mean, there's like Starbucks and 151 and those, but no like cozy, comfortable, like local independent coffee shop. We were in a about 5 mile zone where there literally was nothing within 5 miles. And realizing that, it was kind of that trigger of like, oh wait, this could be really a great opportunity, because and I've loved listening to like podcasts like How I Built This, and they're always talking to people that are starting these giant companies. And it's never like they plan to do it, and they've been their whole life led up to this moment that they've been planning their whole thing. It was always just kind of like they fell into it and they saw the opportunity, and they didn't just go, oh, that'd be cool, and then walk away. It was, oh, I could do that. Okay, I'm going to go for it.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the in the back of my head too, is just kind of like, it's not really, do you have the skill set? Do you have, it's recognizing the opportunity. And so that was kind of like, for me, the biggest thing was just kind of like all these things kind of bouncing around in my head, and for whatever reason, it just sounded right. And we just dove straight in. So laid off in January. March, we walked by the place and started kind of that conversation. And April, we kind of was like, okay, let's go for this. And so from April, we got the keys in June, And from June till August 31st, we were go 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 and got it open in
From June till August
3 months.
31st, were you Googling, "How do I start a coffee shop?"
Yep, I was YouTube was my life and savior for all of that. And my wife was just amazing in just the support and helping, crafting the ideas. And she came up with the name. So she had she was doing a pet care service, and so she came up with the name for that. Yeah, and it was the same way. It was like late night, just laying in bed. She was like, "Oh, so my last name is Buck. Her last name is Trudeau, Trudeau Buck. And so our sorry, I'm side tangents, but um, so when we pick up our kids from school, they were all there in the same elementary school together for about a year. And so instead of Trudeau kids, Buck kids, one of the teachers was like, True Bucks, come on over. And so we've always kind of had, that's our like nickname for our family, is the True Bucks. And so if you notice, if you come in the shop, we have our True Buck signature coffee beans. So those are like the drip coffee that you can get in the shop as the beans that we sell, and that's where the name came from, was True Buck signature. Um, but I get
I
to that
didn't know that.
because
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
and so she came up with hers was True Care Pets, and it
Uh-huh.
was like middle of the night in bed sleeping, and was just like, hey, True Care, that would kind of be really cool, like a really nice, that clicks. And same thing with Aromas. It was She was just laying in bed and just to turn over, she's like, we should name it Aromas, and I was like, yes, and I was like, oh, there's got to be Aromas already out there. There's got to be something. There's not. It was no other like Aromas coffee shop was out there. So long-winded way to getting to
Yeah.
where we are. But
Since there's not, you guys might need to be contacting a intellectual rights attorney
yeah, that's
about that.
probably probably the next step I should be looking
Yeah.
into.
Yeah, we're
But
just using it right now, so we can prove you used it first. We're talking about
that's
it. It's
right.
Aromas on Oak, Roanoke,
I've got
Texas, Ryan Beck.
lots of stuff where we've got our
Good.
business
Yeah.
LLC set up, so I can at least
What?
prove I got
So
it.
so you guys just fell into entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
But you felt like, you've always kinda I think that there was something an itch, and you even, me and you talked about this, how, um, being in the middle I guess I don't think we're quite midlife. I'm gonna say we're not quite
We're
there, Brian,
almost
because
there, we'll
we're
say.
pretty young. But Jonathan and I felt that too.
Mhm.
Just I'm too old to do something and start over, and but then you're like, well, I think I can do this, and it's just
Mm,
I think there's something exciting in our country happening too. I think small
yeah.
businesses are being birthed right now in our country, and I think it's exciting to watch. What's been what have you found out that you didn't know, and like, what's been the most surprising thing? Like, I thought I had this under control, and then it turned out like I wasn't prepared for this part of entrepreneurship.
It's something that you just kind of, it's inherent. You just think, oh, somebody's taking care of this. And there was always a boss for me, in the corporate world. So I was like, oh, there's always a team to do this. There's always a boss. I never had to worry about marketing. I never had to worry about, legal or, all that stuff. So it was always kind of like somebody else takes care of all this. Well, the part that you don't really realize is there's nobody telling you what to do and when to do it, and deadlines are your own, but that also means it's all on you, to make sure you get the marketing, you get the, you're on the contractor to make sure things are getting done in time, and that you've got, especially with us, we had a very tight window to really open, and when we started, my wife and I were talking, and it was like, if we're going to be able to do this and be able to survive, we've got to get it open by, you know, August. And, so even early on, we were like, okay, we know we've got a tight deadline. So it was like, okay, how do I open a business? How do we start an LLC? How do we, and, luckily my wife was paralegal. So she took care of all the LLC stuff and figuring out all that, on the legal side that we needed. And, And so then I was just kind of like, okay, how do we figure this out? What do we want this place to be? And really, we realized there was a lot of coffee shops around. You can get good coffee in a lot of places. Um, but in Roanoke in particular, there weren't places to go and just sit and meet somebody, comfortable anyways, without having to,
Yeah.
excuse me, buy a meal or a drink, or it's not a place that you can just go and meet somebody for a quick 15-minute meeting, or maybe a date, and you don't want to have to order a whole meal, or go to a bar. And so that was kind of like, we realized early on we wanted something that was unique to the area, not only coffee but also a community space, something that we could really, people can come and we don't require people to buy drinks. We don't require them to come if they want to sit outside on our furniture, or come inside and sit down, use our internet. We don't charge for that. We wanted it to be a welcoming place for everybody, and not be this place where, all right, you've been here 30 minutes, you need to order another drink or something. It's like, no, hey, do you want some water? Let's help you out.
I
We
heard a
wanted to.
rumor. Is Starbucks doing that?
They are, yeah. I don't know if
Okay,
they're
I
going to
think I heard a
turn
rumor
that
and I was
around,
like,
but
"Wait." Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think you have to use the bathroom. You have to buy a drink now. Is what I heard. I don't know if they're going to turn that around, because that
Starbucks in their
never.
bathrooms, I tell you.
Yeah, that never really made sense to me. So,
We went there during
um,
COVID. We were this is totally off topic, but
mm,
we went there during COVID we were at the mall. We went over there with my son, who was, like, really young at the time, and he
mm,
needed to go to the bathroom so bad, and, they had it blocked off. They had a trash can, like,
mm,
in front of it because you could order there during
mm.
COVID. You could get coffee, but you couldn't go to the bathroom. But we know that COVID is not passed through, okay? And,
Yeah,
I just politely moved the trash can aside and told the
yeah,
lady, "You can call the cops if you want to, but I'm using your
yeah.
bathroom."
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
mean,
yeah, Starbucks in their bathrooms. It's such a great time.
always, always
Um,
fun.
has there been a day where, like, you and Kristen were like, "Have we made the biggest mistake of our lives?"
Um, there's been a few days here and there. I think definitely there, you're doing everything yourself. There's lots of, you know, nothing's smooth. Nothing ever goes smoothly. I mean, I think we definitely had a fairly smooth ride, figuring that we were able to, like, start to finish open in like 3 months. Equipment, hiring, contracts, contractors, all that. So we lucked out in a lot of ways of being able to do that. But there were definitely some days where we were just like, oh man, we're so deep in, it's too late to turn around, but maybe we should have just, gone a different way. Maybe I should have just went to Dallas or something. Um, I think we got up to, I want to say, 3 weeks before our opening, and we had like already were starting. We A lot of people were asking, when are you opening, because we had most of it done. Like, if you walked by, it looked like we were already open. But we couldn't officially open yet. We hadn't gotten all the permits and everything done. And so it was just kind of sitting there, and so we didn't want to say, oh, we're opening on this date, because we originally were going for, I think it was like the 17th of August, so like middle of August. And like a week and a half before, we found out that we were setting up all the equipment, and we realized that the water line that went to all of our machines and everything was run through hot water. And so we couldn't do anything with that. Well, so to fix that, they have to go, jackhammer up the floor and rerun the pipes, and redo all this, when we're supposed to be. We had health inspection scheduled. We had, occupancy permit scheduled. Like, we had everything scheduled, and like a week before, we're like, oh, by the way, we have to tear everything up and start over.
Which is probably
um,
another
it
$20,000.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a nightmare. Luckily, it was, we got it done in time. They just pushed it out like a week or two. And what was amazing was just, like, I've heard horror stories of, like, the cities, getting health inspection and, city inspections and fire marshals and all that, and like being a pain to deal with. But I mean, Roanoke was one. I mean, I never dealt with that. Like we had to push. We canceled all of our appointments because we were like, well, I guess we'll be pushed into September. Got it all done, and then reached out to the city, reached out to the health inspector, fire marshal. All of them were like, I'll be there next week, and it was just boom, boom, boom. They all took care of it within a week. So like, but in that moment of like, oh my God, we are supposed to be opening next week, and we have a hole in our floor and dust everywhere. Like we were definitely like beyond stressed at that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
but it worked out.
Um, what I think it's important when you open a business. So you came to us as a result of accounting, and you are a numbers guy. You have a background in finance, but you found out it was different than accounting, right?
Well, I have a background in software in a financial company, so I
Right.
had a general idea like numbers, and but I started off like, oh, I'll just figure it out. I can figure this out. I do TurboTax, do my own taxes, all that. But of course, mine were very simple, and just a standard,
When you're an employee,
standard
yes. Yep.
employee. And so then start, get all the accounts set up, get QuickBooks, and QuickBooks starts out, at least on mine, you have, I think it was 125 different accounts that they have. Like they give you everything. It's like the shotgun approach. Well, we're going to be covering everybody, so here you go. Here's every single account you ever need. And it was like it was so overwhelming trying to figure out. Okay, well, should I put this receipt into this category? Does this one? Well, this one goes here, but it also has the same name down here, and then realizing like I was in over my head, and it was a point I was just like, yeah, I gotta get some help, especially with taxes. That was kind of the thing for me too, was figuring out like, hey, I've got to figure out these taxes, and I don't know my numbers well enough to be able to then make sure that everything's good. So then I called for help.
So Intuit, QuickBooks, people in the accounting industry, this frustrates us very big time because they play these commercials that they show these happy business
So
owners
easy.
doing their own bookkeeping. And so then when Ryan comes along and he thinks, well, I'm at least as smart as the guy on the commercial, which you are ever bit as smart as the guy on that commercial, and you think I should be able to do this, and then you can't, and it's
Yeah.
frustrating. And so for those of us that are in the accounting industry, this is totally unfair expectations on business owners. If you do not have a background in accounting, then just having the software does not make it work. Ryan, you are a software genius. I know that if I sat in front of some of the software that you use, I would be lost. I'm smart. I do software
Yeah.
all the time. I do my software. I know my industry, but I know that if I sat down in front of your stuff, I would be lost. And so to sit a business owner in front of QuickBooks and to give them the unreal expectation that you're going to be able to do your own accounting is extremely frustrating. And I
Yeah.
think it sets up business owners for disappointment because they see those stupid commercials and they feel disappointed in themselves and then they don't realize it. So,
Yeah.
um, has it been will you I'm just asking you here in front of God and everybody, has it been surprising working with us? Has it been like you thought it was going to be? Was it an intimidating phone call to make to reach out and ask for help?
Yeah, I mean, I always and I think it was just after I hurt myself, so it kind of going to that intimidating asking for help. So we part of our adventure was we decided to also buy a trailer, so we're going to do like a mobile coffee cart. And the jack to lift it had just broken. I was having to get it down to Austin to be worked on, and it just broken. And I probably could have called, 5 or 6 people, and they would have been there to help out. But I was just like, oh, I can lift it because I lifted it before, but that's when it was level and balanced. So I was like, oh yeah, I can just push it around, and it's on wheels, and it'll be fine. Once the jack broke, it was tipped down, and I'm lifting all like 1,500 pounds of it, and I pull a muscle trying to do that. So
Yeah.
I'm not one to ask for help. So it was definitely hard to kind of get to that point of being like, yeah, okay, I can't do this. I'm going to mess something up and it's going to cost us the business, or, so it was definitely hard, but, getting to that point, and now it's like, oh, I don't have to worry about this. Like, you'll just tell me, hey, I need this, I need this, I need this, and I can just do it, and then you guys can figure out where everything goes properly, and clean up all the mess that I made of everything. So yeah, it was definitely worthwhile, making that, finally kind of jumping in and saying, okay, I need help.
This is an ignorant question maybe, but did you ever feel judged
No,
because of the way things were?
no, it's all person.
I think a lot of people put off that phone call because 'cause they're embarrassed. It's like when you call a house cleaner to clean your
Yeah,
house, but you clean it before they come so they don't see
yeah.
how messy you really are, and that's dumb
Yeah.
because it's their job, and so I know I meet with a lot of people that the first time they're like, "It's really messy, please don't judge me," and I'm like, "No judgment." Again, like,
Yeah,
I there's things that I'm not good at, but
yeah,
accounting's not one of them. I'm good at that.
yeah. I mean,
There's lots
there's a
of things I'm
reason.
not good at.
The reason it's there. The industry's still here. No matter
Yeah.
what, it's still here. It's not going away because it takes a lot, and it takes a certain type of person to do it.
Mhm. Mhm. It's not going away, and we talked about this last week with my last, guest, how AI is revolutionizing our industry, but it
Hmm.
is not ever going to replace this
Yeah,
connection between CPA, tax preparer, bookkeeper. It's not gonna replace that connection and that relationship.
yeah,
When you start a business, there's a few key relationships you need to have. You need to have either a CPA or an EA. You need to have a bookkeeper, and those are different people. A lot of people don't understand that. Now, our firm does tax preparing, but we have partnered with an EA to do that. An EA is an enrolled agent. So you need to have those two things. It's intimidating to call them right at first. You need to have, and your wife had the legal expertise to help with that kind of stuff, but have an attorney at least decided on one that you know you would call if you need something. A lot of people don't understand, like, there's a lot of attorneys that have like memberships or that you can be part of. Like, I know Silvis Law does it here in South Lake. They have a business membership where you can be a part of their firm for a set fee a month, and that really helps you to be able to call them whenever something comes
hmm
up. Just things like that. Anything I'm missing, Ryan? Who else do you need to have on your team when you start a business or as you grow?
um
What's your
I
next
mean,
hire gonna be or outsourcing gonna be?
trying to think. I mean, really, somebody that can be on the ground. A good manager, I think,
Okay.
would be another. We're doing it ourselves. My wife and I, and thankfully, if it was just me, there'd be no way. If it was just her, there'd be no way. Like, we needed both of us to be able to really make this work. And so, at some point, if I get another opportunity or I start something else, I'm going to have less time to be able to really be in the shop 24/7.
Now that you have the entrepreneurial bug, is it
Yeah,
now do you have ideas of other things
I,
going on?
there's a few, yeah, and definitely on the more software side, getting the itch there too again. So it's like there's parts of it that are like, okay, well, maybe, at some point we need to hire somebody to really be on the ground a little bit more, and be, able to help keep things, running smoothly.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's awesome. And isn't that every entrepreneur's dream to be able to, like, build a
hand it
business that
off.
runs without them? So we
Yeah.
can we can leave and go on vacation and not worry that it's gonna
That's
still be
that's been
running.
the that's probably been the hardest part, I think, from being a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I feel like I have to be on the clock doing something all the time. And it took probably about 4 months before I didn't feel like, when I'm at home after, working for, 10 hours, not being like, oh, I need to be doing something. I shouldn't be just driving around picking up, groceries. Like, I need to be like on the clock doing something right now. And it took a while to finally get out of that feeling of like, oh, I need to be go, go, go doing something 24/7, and being able to be like, okay, I can take this a little slower.
Yep.
I'm the only one to answer to. Well, and the employees, because
Yeah.
even while we're talking, I'm seeing like text messages popping up like, "Hey, I just broke, I just dropped this, or we need milk, we need this." So it's like, you always have something to do, but
Something.
it's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, that is so true. Well, let me give you a little freedom, Ryan. Go to the grocery store in the middle of the day. Like the first time you do
It's the
that, it's
best
like,
thing.
"Oh, I
Yep.
can be here in the middle of the day, and I didn't have to ask anybody, I didn't have to tell anybody, they don't even care.
Yep.
Nobody cares.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, Ryan, when me and my team message you, you don't have to message us right back. It's really okay. We understand that
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneur, you got other things going on, and, it's a beautiful thing, and
Yeah.
I'm really excited for you and Kristen. I know she doesn't love being in front of the camera, but someday we'll get her on here to talk about maybe at our 1 year, she
There
can
we
get on
go.
here and tell
We'll
us
work her up
the
to it.
other side of the story. But I'm really excited to watch Aromas on Oak. I'm really excited to be able to partner with you guys. I'm excited to have you in my community, to have a coffee shop that we can go to. We love it. You guys are doing great, and I'm excited to know you and see the next things that come from you guys. Thanks for being with
Appreciate
me
it.
today, Ryan.
Thanks.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.